22nd Belmar Board of Adjustment. I'd like to have everyone the roll call. What do you call roll?
Mr. Ross?
Here.
Mr. Gregg?
Here.
Ms. Nina? Here. Mr. Rubin?
Here.
Ms. Daniel? Ms. Rosell?
You have to read the notice of meeting.
So adequate notice of this meeting was sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Co-Star, and notice of the meeting was posted on the municipal website and posted at the municipal building.
Thank you. Could everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First order, do you have anything to come up before we go to office for two? We have two new members being sworn in tonight, and Jeffrey, would you give them their
Sure.
office, please?
So what we'll do is, first of all, welcome, and what we'll do is we'll officially swear you in. So if you could both stand up and raise your right hand, and I'll say state your name, we'll go you first, and then after that you can all repeat together. So I state your name.
Claire Hayner.
Wendy Brazil.
Do solemnly swear
That I will support.
that I will support,
I will
so you can
support
repeat that, that I will
I will
support
support
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will
and that I will
bear true faith
bear
bear
true
true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established
established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority
under the authority
of the people,
of the people,
and that I will
and that I will
faithfully,
faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of a member
of a member
of the Zoning Board of Adjustment
of the zoning board of adjustment
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Mr. Acting Chairman, can I just say a few couple words
Please
about
do.
the role of the, they're both alternates, right? So first of all, welcome. And I think you're going to love the experience, and you really will learn a lot, and you are really have an important position of literally helping shape the future of the great borough of Belmar. So I think it's an awesome responsibility. I think you're going to learn a lot from all of the board members. And my experience is that each meeting you attend, each application you adjudicate, each plan you review, you get exponentially more experience. So within 2 weeks, 2 meetings, you're going to be so much more experienced than you have today. And the other thing is just with the role of the alternates, and it's a very important role, you're full-fledged members in every single respect. You can sit at the dais, or you sit, if we don't have room, we sit on the side, and you can ask questions on every single application and make comments on every single application and give your opinion. It's just that in the role of the alternate, April will only call 7 members to vote. And so if you happen to be the 8th member that night, you will vote. But that doesn't mean your role is not important. And what is equally important is particularly on holdover applications, where we start and the applicants, they come back the next month because we ran out of time, or they have to revise plans, or we needed more information. And on that situation, no one is allowed to actually vote unless they review the transcripts or listen to the tape of the prior meeting. So we do have very important roles, and you will most likely vote much more than you will not be voting. And in fact, we were in a little bit, Mr. Acting Chairman, we were in a little bit of a crisis last month because we didn't have alternates and we knew people weren't coming here. So you all really saved the day because we probably would not have been able to have a meeting tonight if we didn't have that. And then on top of that, with the use variance application, which we don't have tonight, but on that one, you need, the person to get approval needs 5 affirmative yes votes, and a lot of times the attorneys don't like proceeding if they don't have a full member of complement. So anyway, we'll have a lot more to learn, and you'll learn a lot from the chair, the vice chair, the acting chair, and all these board members, and from Ted and April. April is awesome with a capital A, and she is sort of the quarterback of our team, and she'll bring you up to date and things like that on continued applications. But anyway, So I just wanted to say that so that everyone knows the role. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks for all that information, and now you know how important your role is tonight. Very important.
Yes.
All right, we'll need a motion to approve the meetings from the minutes from the meeting January 25th.
Motion.
What was that motion? Second?
Second.
Thank you.
So Claire and Randy, I won't call your names on this because you weren't at the meeting. Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Gregg?
Yes.
Mr. Lubin?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
And Kevin, you have any information on the resolution approving the application of Diane Fox?
Sure. This was an application that we approved at our meeting on January 25th, and this was a use variance application, expansion of a non-conforming use for an application to construct an addition to the main home on a lot containing 2 dwelling units, where only 1 dwelling unit is permitted, and construction of additions and other site improvements. And, Mr. Chairman, the resolution was previously distributed, and the conditions of note were revising the plan so as to confirm that the applicants perpetually replace and replant and maintain the landscaping. Additional green space and landscaping shall be added in accordance with the approved plans. No further expansion or intensification of the use or the structures absent further approval of the board. Confirmation that the air conditioning condensers for the rear main principal structure shall be located to the west side of the property in a zoning compliant location. And I just said parenthetically, the board notes that the existing air conditioning condenser for the cottage is remaining in its existing location. And confirmation that the impervious coverage at the site shall not exceed 56.1%. The applicant's attorney had a couple of stylistic changes, nothing which was major at all, so I'll address those. If you could adopt, if it's acceptable, we can adopt that as modified, if that is the pleasure of the board.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, John. Second?
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Gregg?
Yes.
Mr. Lubin?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
And then I'll modify this tomorrow for you.
All right, so then we're on to our first application, which is Thomas and Lynn Hickey of 401 15th Avenue for a porch expansion.
Okay, and Mr. Chairman, if I could just do a couple of real quick preliminary procedural things. To our new members, the applicants, before they come here, as you probably know, they have to notice. They send a notice, and the notice has to be legally sufficient, has to be advertised, and has to be sent to the property owners. So what we do is we're going to see here, is there anyone here who had any questions or comments regarding the sufficiency of the notice they received? Okay, so we don't see any. So I'm going to say that the board secretary and I reviewed the notice and found everything to be in order. So it would be my humble opinion that we have jurisdiction to proceed tonight. And what we'll do is we will mark into the record what we as a board have before us. So A1 is the development application, and that's dated November 11, 2023. And then A2 says zoning denial, so that's, I'm going to call this a zoning denial form.
Oh, that's just the confirmation email.
Oh, okay. So, I told you, April was awesome. So we're going to say A2 is our minor land use zoning permit denial form, and that's dated September 8th and September 7th, 2023. A3 is a picture of the subject property. And then A4 is the plot plan, and that is dated October 25th, 2023, prepared by the Canning Group. And A5 is a survey of the property prepared by the Canning Group, and that's dated October 25th, 2023. And I don't think we have anything else, right? So with that having been said, we will swear in Ted Bianchi. Ted is the zoning officer and construction official of our great town. Mr. Bianchi, do you swear that the information and testimony you're about to provide, to the extent you provide any, will be the truth, to the best of your knowledge, to help you God? Thank you. All right. You what? Oh, okay. So we'll have you guys all sworn in, and then I think you might have additional exhibits. Okay. So why don't you state your name?
Tom Peterson, I'm the architect.
Okay, and you're testifying in capacity as a licensed architect?
Yes.
Thomas Hickey, owner.
Okay, and just spell anything?
HICKEY.
And you're the owner and applicant, okay?
James Alvarez, contractor.
Okay, if you all could raise your right hands, do you swear that the information and testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, to the best of your knowledge, to help you God?
I do.
Okay, and if I could, I don't want to steal any of your thunder, but if I could just get some basic information from Mr. Hickey, you're the owner of the property, you said, correct?
Correct.
And how long have you owned it, roughly?
Since 2016.
Okay, and my notes suggest that there's a single-family home on the property,
Correct.
and do you live there?
Yes.
Okay, and why don't you go and, or however you guys want to proceed with your application.
Okay, I'll start. Throw it over to Tom, then we'll go over to the owner's architect, Mr. Peterson. Mr. Hickey contacted me. He had a little front stoop and expressed his desire to put a porch across the front, which kind of makes sense in this town. And the builder of the house used up all the 30% lot coverage, and was expanding the porch. It put us into the need for a variance. So Mr. Peterson came aboard as well, and I'll turn it over for any questions from Mr. Hickey, and then we'll turn it over to Mr. Peterson. Talk about your house.
Yeah, we're originally from Hunterdon County, we retired down here. We spent a lot of research looking for a place to live, and Belmar really fit the bill for us. So we spent a couple of years actually looking for a house, and one of our requirements was to have a front porch for a true beach house. So at the time, there was a limited amount of houses that were available to fit the bill. So we, in a sense, settled, we're happy with the house, but eventually we wanted to put the porch addition on. So I did some research, contacted a contractor, as James said, and tried to get an idea of what the requirements would be with the borough to add the front porch and the cost of the project estimated. That kind of brings us to where we are today. We're really happy with being here. It was a place where we wanted to settle, and kind of fit the bill for everything. Except for this one item we were looking for, the additional porch.
Okay, so we'll go to your architect, Mr. Peterson, and let him explain
I'm
what
up
you
next.
do.
And Tom, why don't you just, for the record, just because we have some new,
Oh, sure.
you've testified before us many times,
Yes.
but why don't you, because we have two brand-new members, why don't you give them the benefit of some of your credentials?
Sure, and congratulations. It's going to be a lot of fun, I'm sure. We're here frequently. I'm a licensed architect. I've been licensed since 1982, believe it or not. I went to school in Chicago. We came back to New Jersey, which is where I'm from, to practice. Our firm is almost entirely residential work here along the Jersey Shore. I'm before boards every single month. And the best news of all is my son Andrew is just about through the licensing, so he'll be before you before too long, and I'll be watching, so.
We got a lot of people learning tonight.
I'm going to hand out a couple of copies of this. These are just exact copies of the photographs there, so maybe it's a little easier for you guys to look at it up here, and then another copy of the drawing that we've done. So that's for you guys. And then April, this is the exact copy. I don't know if you guys want pictures.
Sure, so why don't we, I think we're up to A6, so what do you want A6 to be?
You could do A6 as the aerial photo.
The aerial photo, okay, and A7,
can be, there's 3 photos of the front of the house.
and were those pictures taken by your office?
Yes.
Okay, roughly when?
A month ago, maybe.
So they're an accurate depiction of
Yes.
what exists?
Yes.
Okay,
And then make the last one A8 could be the architectural drawing.
now is that different from what we've already marked, or, oh, we did mark that, architectural drawing,
Yes.
all right, prepared by your office?
Yes.
And is there a date on it?
I think we put today's date on it, just because of the last one. on there.
Yes, today's date.
2/22/24, and how many pages?
Just one.
One, got it. Okay. Oops.
So, Phoebe says I talk too much, so I'm going to be quick. This is a relatively simple application, but nothing is ever simple anymore. The point of this project is to add a covered porch on the front of the house. It's an existing 2.5-story, 4-bedroom home. There is an existing covered stoop on it, but it doesn't really function as a porch. So if you take a look at the photographs, you can see here, this is the front of the house. Here's the covered stoop area. What we're looking to add on is to the east of that, over towards the corner. This is a corner lot. The reason why we're here, the hardship that we have is that this is an undersized lot for the zone. R40 zone, we are at, let me give you the exact numbers. The R40, our existing building, our existing lot size is 4,679 square feet, where we're required to be 5,500 square feet. As you know, the allowable coverage is based on a percentage. The percentage of a smaller lot is a smaller coverage. So the initial construction way back when was done to the maximum, but we need some relief now. We're going to be over by about 2%. If you take a look at, you can see, take a look at the aerial photograph. Where we're coming out is very much in line with a lot of the other homes in the neighborhood there. Also, as you all know, covered porches are absolutely commonplace, not just here in Belmar, but up and down the shore too. So what we're doing is not out of place, what we're doing is not unusual. And although it counts as building coverage, the appearance of a covered porch is less than if we were adding structure there, or adding a room. So here's a look down the side. As you look down, this is looking to the west. You can see the house to the west of us. It comes out that far. Here is another picture that kind of shows the corner where we're going. We're not coming out any further to the east than the existing house. This really is just a porch in the front. So if you take a look at the drawing, you can see, and this gives you a good sense of the scale of what we're doing. This is the existing covered stoop here. Here's the series of columns. It has a nice rhythm to it. And you can, if you just look at the two, you can sense how much more this looks like a shore home, like something that you would have in Belmar. This does, when we're done, than what it looks like now. You can look here, we've got some perspectives too to give you a better sense of what we're doing. So, from a planning standpoint, we always have to give the reason why we're coming before. Here, the hardship is that the lot size is less than what's required there. So, going above the coverage would be considered a hardship in this zone. And what we feel is that it's a minimal amount. It's not greedy. We're not looking to do anything larger than we should. And in all honesty, I think when it's done, the visual look of the house, the volume of it, will actually be helped by having the open porch. And did I talk too much? I think that was good.
You haven't talked too much yet. Nobody threw anything at you.
What's that?
No tomatoes or nothing, right?
Good. I thought good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Does anybody have any questions on what we're looking to do?
Well, that's what we're going to do now. If your presentation is set, just for the new members' benefit, what we do now is, as acting chairperson, I'm going to start with Chuck, and I'll work our way down the line this way, skipping me, and I'll come back at the end. And you'll get a chance to ask questions of anything on the project to any of the three people who have just presented. After that, we're going to go to the public. We'll see if they have questions or comments, and then we'll come back to us where we can make comments. Instead of questions, then we'll make comments about what we think of this project and whether or not, you don't have to say whether or not you approve of it, but if you do, it helps them as far as their presentation, whether or not they're going to finish up this this project tonight or not. So, I'm gonna start with Chuck, and he'll ask questions, and we'll work to you next, and then so on down the board, and you can ask questions. Go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, so just two questions. One, you'll keep it open air porch, not gonna be enclosed?
Absolutely, yes.
And then second, I see you have some gutters already on the existing little cover stoop there.
Yes,
Assuming you'll remove that and then maybe extend or control.
tie it into the front, exactly.
Yeah, okay, no further questions.
Your first chance to ask questions right now, if you have any.
Chuck covered it.
Hey, Chuck, that does happen.
I have no questions.
Why didn't you do this sooner?
Okay, easy questions for you. I don't have any questions. This is about one of the smallest asks that we've ever had, I think. So this is pretty simple, and we're going to go to the public now. Does anyone in the public have any questions for the applicant? Any comments about the project? Seeing none, I'm going to move on to board comment.
Mr. Chairman, can I just add one, just for the resolution? Tom, just what is the measurement of the existing front covered stoop right now, roughly?
It is approximately, hold on. So both the existing stoop and the porch come out 7 feet, so they're 7 feet deep. And the existing stoop is approximately 9.58 feet.
8 feet long, and what about for when it's, if you get the approval, it'll still be 7 feet deep?
7 feet deep, and then the addition is 18.65 feet.
And so what will the total length be? Just so I have it for the record.
28.23.
28.23. And one last question, I just saw on your plans, it had said 32.8% building coverage, and then somewhere else in the documents, I saw, or maybe that was Mr. Cannon's plans, and I saw somewhere else 33.61%. So just so that we have the right answer, what is the right coverage that you're asking for?
32.8.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just, it's 131 square foot is the total new covered area.
Okay.
Now we're going to move on to what we call board comments, where each member gets a chance to make a comment about the project, their approval or non-approval, or whatever they think about it. Chuck?
Yeah, I think it looks great. I think we even improved the front of the house where it looks, and we're talking 0.8% now, I think, over the allowable building coverage, so I think that's very small. I'm in favor.
Definitely in favor of it. It looks a lot better than what's there, and you're gonna enjoy it. You'll enjoy yours. I approve.
You know you're gonna enjoy it, so it's all good.
Yeah, I think it looks great.
Great addition.
And to finish up, I have to say that I think porches make good neighbors, and good neighbors make good neighborhoods. I'm totally in favor of this project, and I'd like to call for someone to make a motion that we approve this project.
Motion.
Second.
All right, and then, Mr. Chairman, some of the conditions that we've talked about, or that we generally have involved, and actually just for our new members, real briefly, some of the things that, and you've all said it, and the other members have said it, but some of the standards that we typically look for when you're granting a variance is there some type of hardship? And there isn't always, and that's not economic hardship. It means there's some type of hardship because of the shape of the property, the topography, maybe it's shaped like a triangle, you can't have, so maybe it's not a hardship here, or the standard is, can the benefits of granting the application, granting the approval outweigh the detriments? And some of the things you talked about are visual. Hey, we like pretty things, it is aesthetically improving. Is the setback going to be materially different from what's there now? Is it going to stick out from the other homes? Is it going to look nice? Is it going to be, all those things? Is it going to be more functional, and is it going to add value to the home, and all those things? So those are all the things you said. So, Mr. Chairman, if the application is to be approved, some of the conditions that we typically include, compliance with all the promises and commitments and the representations that the applicant's team made tonight, compliance with any prevailing affordable housing rules, regulations, contributions, directive, getting out any outside approvals that are necessary. We usually have a 24-month timeframe, so when the resolution is adopted next month, if it gets approved, they have 24 months within which to get the building permits or any agreed-upon extension. Grading and drainage details, if necessary, be worked out with the borough engineer. We usually say to maintain, perpetually maintain the landscaping. And I think what we talked about tonight, we added, Chuck, it's no enclosure of the porch, or it's going to be remain an open air porch absent further approval of the board. If one of you has the architectural plans, if you would mind just give me a copy when I do the resolution, I'll need them. And we're going to have extending the gutters across the entire porch is what we said. And we're just confirmation that the building coverage is 32.8%. So if those are acceptable, we can incorporate that into the motion if the board is so inclined.
Right, I think I jumped ahead of you and got the motion approved.
So I got,
Okay.
Mr. Lubin made a motion, right?
Yes.
And Mr. Sainer, second.
And are those conditions acceptable?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Gregg?
Yes.
Ms. Sainer?
Yes.
Mr. Lubin?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Brazil?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Congratulations.
Jimmy. You don't have a phone number anymore, is it? You don't have a phone number?
Just check. Our next applicant, if this start coming forward, will be Peter.
Get out of here quick enough for you,
Peter and Janice,
All right, and as the applicant's team comes forward, it's going to be same routines. Is there
Andrew,
anyone
they're not all
here
that
who has
easy.
any questions or comments or concerns regarding the sufficiency of the notice they received? Okay, don't see any. And so let the record reflect that the board secretary and I reviewed the notice.
Hit somebody
Found
with this, aren't I?
everything in order.
Nice
meeting you. Good luck. Now, we are going to mark into the record what we as a board have before us. In no particular order, the application package, development application package, we're going to mark as A1, and that's dated November 10th, 2023. And then we have as A2, the application checklist. And I think that's undated. And A3, we have our minor land use zoning permit denial form, and that is dated September 30th, 2023, and September 29th, 2023. And, April, this part of that?
Yes.
Okay. And then A4, we're going to reference our architectural floor plans and elevations prepared by Mary Hearn Architect, dated November 3rd, 2023, consisting of 3 sheets. And I think that's it, correct? So, good evening, Mr. Shipers and team.
Good evening, Mr. Kennedy and board members. Welcome new board members. Congratulations. I'm William Shipers. I'm out of Delmar, my office. I have the pleasure tonight to represent Peter Vaclaville and Janet Maynard to my right. Both physicians, welcoming them to the community. Always good to have more doctors around, especially as we age. May have a few other exhibits to mark. I think Mary has a colored rendering.
So we're up to A5. So A5 is going to be an illustrated
Site
rendering.
plan, colored site plan,
Okay. Prepared by your office?
correct?
And is there a date on that?
11/03/23,
Okay.
And then I believe we're going to have a photo board prepared by Ms. Hearn of the A6.
correct?
Photo board containing
5
5
photos,
photographs
subject property,
of property taken by your office.
yes,
Roughly when?
yesterday,
So that would be a pretty accurate depiction of what exists, correct?
hopefully, yes.
Okay.
Okay, they're marked.
I would ask you to swear both my clients in as well as Ms. Hearn.
Okay, so if you could all stand up, and first up is Mary Hearn, who will be testifying in her capacity as a licensed architect. Okay, and you?
Peter Vaclaville,
Okay, and just spell your last name.
V as in Victor, A-C-L-A-V-I-K.
Perfect.
Janice Maynard.
Okay, your last name is spelled
N is in Mary, E-H, N is in Nancy, E-R-T.
E-R-T. Okay, if you could all, three of you raise your right hands. Do you swear that the information and testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the best of your knowledge, to help you God?
Yes.
Okay, let the record reflect that all witnesses have been sworn.
Thank you. Brief introductory remark.
Absolutely.
I want to thank my clients for giving me the opportunity to represent them before this board this evening. I find this to be I don't want to term it simple, because nothing's ever simple these days, but they purchased the property a couple of years ago. It's a fairly newly built or new built, as I consider anything this new in town. It's on the corner of a street very dear to me, because I lived on Fourth Avenue for a long time. And D Street turns into River, which turns into Fourth. And as I typically, maybe even this evening, hopefully, if I don't talk too long, go to Dolce Vita for a glass of wine tonight, I drive down D and turn towards the river, and I turn towards Fourth, and I look in their backyard every time I drive down that street. And it's a beautiful home. I think aesthetically, landscape-wise, garage-wise, love the person who built the home that we all may know whose home it was. And it looks like they ran out of cash or stopped the cash, and the landscaping stopped, and the garage wasn't there, and there's no storage. I look in that backyard all the time and think, God, a lovely house, I wish I owned it, but boy, that's a very open backyard with no storage. So they went to Ms. Hearn. I trusted her with their dreams and their desires, and Mary, I think, has always hits it out of the park and designs beautiful garage, pool, pervious pavers. The only variance is a building coverage. The property was built out to the building coverage, and Mary is very good with numbers, and the zoning ordinance, as what you either know or are going to learn a little bit tonight, is these larger lots in the R75s actually have a detriment, because what happens is the building coverage steps down as the lot gets bigger. So if this lot was actually a 7,500 square foot lot, there probably would not even be variance relief, if any. So with that, just very briefly, Peter, if I'm going to just call you very briefly to indicate when you bought the house, what your intent is with the house. Is he a principal residence? I think father-in-law is watching from behind as he moved down here. He's a zoning guy out of Bradley. Just give us a little history.
We moved in July. We wanted our kids to be down by their grandparents. They live in Bradley. It's our year-end house, year-round. And we just wanted to be close to the beach. We've got 3 kids in this whole area, school district, area. We have one at Trinity, one at Mast, one at Spring Lake. And
And you want a nice pool to invite your architect and council over
exactly.
in the summertime, correct?
Exactly.
Anything else you'd like to add, Peter?
Yeah, as a year-round house.
Talk about your bicycle.
Yes.
Because
as a year-round-
I'm intrigued.
Year-round house, you pack things that, tools. I have a truck, pickup truck, so there's spare tires, like all this stuff is in storage, like it can't stay in storage forever. Snow blower, but, everyone's like, it's a nice neighborhood, it's real safe. And, it was within the first month, the one night I didn't tie fly bikes. Stop. Police were able to find the cheapest bike, unfortunately. Yeah, like you said, you drive by and you just stare right into the backyard. There's like nothing there. So, if, you can get some privacy and get things off the yard, that'd be helpful.
Thank you, Peter. Mary Hearn.
Yes, sir.
Mary, before you start, just for the help of the new members here, what we usually do is when Mary has been before us 5,000 times. maybe
At least,
something,
at
right?
least.
But we asked the person presenting that they tell us about their education and their experience at all. I don't know if you've been to many meetings or if you've been to any meetings, but would you just do that for us?
Happy
We
to.
don't need it really, but I would appreciate it.
No, happy to. I'm licensed in the state of New Jersey since 1992. I went to Virginia Tech. I have a Bachelor of Architecture degree. My office is on Main Street in Belmar since 2010. Prior to that, my office was in Wall on 138. So we've been in business for next year's 25, so 24 years. And before many boards in the area, I think I'm before this one most. But that makes sense since my office is right here. So I'm very used to testifying as a professional licensed architect.
Thank you, Mary. We accept your qualifications.
Thank you.
Again. And that's what the way it normally goes for us here. So would you give us your presentation, please?
Certainly. So I met with the doctors, and I happen to know the property well. We designed the home there for Matt Doherty, our previous mayor. And at the time that Matt and I designed the house, he still had a house across the street. This was going to be a house for extended family, his mother-in-law at the time. And they chose to put as much building coverage into the home and the porch and not build a garage. It wasn't their priority. They had a garage immediately across the street that they never parked in. And so they said, we don't want to give up that space. So my client, I tried to satisfy my client at the time, and at the time that was their desire. So the house is, I think, 17 and change in footprint, and the porch is over 300 square feet. So at that time, we ate up all of the lot coverage. So our lot is over 10,000 square feet. It's about 10,525 square feet. It's irregularly shaped, it's a corner lot, and we're in the R75 zone. So in the R75 zone, if your lot is a standard lot, which is 50 by 150, you get 25%. If you're 10,000 square feet or more, you get 20%. So if you have a 20,000 square foot lot, you can kind of make up the difference and have a bigger house for having purchased a bigger piece of land. When you're right over that 10,000 mark, you're actually penalized because you're allowed less on this size lot than you are allowed on the 7,500 square foot lot because it's under that change in the chart. So typically, and we design them all the time, on 50 by 150 lots, you're allowed 1,875 square feet, which is 25%, a home. Now, if you want porch, it comes out of that. But then you are also allowed, in addition to that, a 440 square foot detached garage, which is a two-car garage, 20 by 22. We build them all the time. And that's exempt from that 25%. When you add that, you're actually allowed 30.8% coverage on a standard 50 by 150 lot. So 30.8. But when your lot is just over 10,000 square feet, you're only allowed 20%. So when the Dohertys decided not to put in a garage, they were okay with that. They have a huge driveway there, so they met their parking requirement. But nothing can be stored away and out of sight and protected. And they were okay with that. The new homeowners, the Maynards, say your last name, don't butcher it. Backlevick. They would like to put in a garage. And as Bill said, if you drive by the site, the backyard is wide open. You haven't landscaped anything because you're hoping to develop the whole property if you get approval, once you get approval. So it's fairly bare. There's beautiful trees out in the right-of-way, big, substantial trees that would stay. But there's very little else done to the property. In fact, if you look at your cover sheet, the existing site plan is off to the left. And you see, so that's over here. You see this very big driveway, basketball court with two generators in the middle. And it's very open. The hope is to develop the property, I'm sorry, audience, I'll turn with a smaller driveway, a two-car garage, and a pool and pool patio. And then put a fence in so that they create an enclosed yard with landscaping outside the fence but on the property to conceal it and offer privacy so their backyard isn't on display. So on corner lots, it's a little tricky to get, that privacy, and this is a good way, we think, to do it. If approved, we've put the garage as far back in the corner as we are allowed. We're not seeking any setback variances. We're not seeking height. We're not seeking any coverage variances except the building coverage. So in what we planned, we would meet the impervious coverage and all the other distances between. The pool complies, the pool fence complies, the height complies. If approved, and on the drawings, we intend to match the exterior shingles, exactly the detail of the flared skirt, the brick foundation, the roof would match, the windows would match, so it'll definitely look cohesive. Although, when developed, we truly feel that this won't stick out. It'll be hidden in the back corner and all relatively fit in to scale with the size of the lot and the house.
Now, Mary, with the beautiful fencing, shrubbery, landscaping that you've included, the clients also desire to have what I consider a fantastic, beautiful electronic sliding gate for the garage to, I think, increase elegance, beauty, safety, security, all that.
That's planned out here near the street, correct?
Okay, and that will work off like a clicker, like you have at the garages and things
Yes.
of that nature.
So the hope is to fence to the house here, and I'm referring to A5, come out toward the street, back on the property, across the back property line, across the side property line, and back to the house.
And I think you pointed it out, but I see it on your colored rendering that you're also adding grass and greenery to the easterly side of the property.
That's correct.
Where it does not exist currently.
Right, so if you look at this side, there's a lot of loose stone here, and if you want, can I offer up the photo then?
Of course.
So on the photo board, which helps, you can see those. If you could pass that when you're done. So we hope to pull up a lot of this landscaping stone and replace with grass. We were leaving a little bit of round, the AC units, and leaving them in place. They're compliant, just to help green up that side and keep the impervious coverage in check.
All right, so now I'm going to ask you some lawyering questions,
Okay.
because I'm supposed to act like a lawyer once in a while before the board. So you've done 50 houses, 100 houses in Delmar over the course of your 25
Yes.
years doing this, correct?
Yes.
And when you design and you try to implement your design, you're familiar with the concept that your designs are not to do any substantial detriment to the public. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you believe in this application that there's no substantial detriment to the public in this application? You're familiar with the concept of master plans. I think you've been enlisted by the town to assist in ordinance review and revision over the course of years. You're familiar with our master plan and our ordinances, correct? Do you feel that this application fosters implementation of our master plan?
I do. Outside storage is important.
Do you feel that aesthetics and an aesthetically pleasing project is a positive, we call it sometimes a positive criteria in zoning? Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Do you feel that this project is aesthetically pleasing?
Yes.
Do you feel it will be more aesthetically pleasing to residents and neighbors than currently exist?
I think the yard will be, yes.
Not touching your house, we love that. Do you feel that this would foster the general welfare and the welfare of the occupants and owners of that town through additional safety and security via fencing and the garage for storage of their property?
I do, and not only that, their neighbors.
Okay. With that, I think I've covered all my requirements before the board
Can I,
for a C1 and/or 2 variance.
can I put on the record the variance that we're seeking? So the variance that we're seeking is lot coverage, building coverage. 20% is the maximum allowed. We're requesting 25.0%, and 20% exists.
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shivers. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for all those questions, because it answers everything almost that we have to ask. And with that, Chuck, I'm going to start again with you, because I don't want to throw the new member under the bus with the first question.
No, that's fine. The only question I have is just about the drainage, always concerned, make sure you're just gonna be getting the water away from your neighbors, that you're putting structure back there. I'm sure you.
We have a skirted roof, and we can collect the gutter all the way around, so the water will not go toward the neighbors.
I have no other questions.
Thank you, Chuck. Claire?
The garage is primarily for storage, or is there gonna be plumbing in there or anything? or-
No.
Okay.
That's it?
That answered my question, putting in a pool. We have rules about pool house.
We have an outdoor shower.
Already.
There's already an outdoor
Shower,
shower.
so that's not a concern. So, talking about that empty backyard, it took me 3 drive-bys till I realized which house we were talking about, and realized where that big backyard is, and this is a positive, totally, for that, so.
That's it?
I think it looks great.
That's it? I too think it's no issue at all. It's a good addition. Security is always important to you. But do we have any now?
Mr. Chairman, do we need to go to public comment?
I'm going to do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
I always appreciate any help you can give. So anybody from the public want to have any questions for the or comments? You can come up, please, and our attorney will swear you in.
Hello, could you just state your name and address, please?
Elaine Fritz, 114 in West Harris.
All right, and you swear that the information and testimony you're about to provide, to the extent you provide any, will be the truth, the best of your knowledge, to help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
A couple questions. I'm wondering, when are you roughly thinking of starting this project? Do you have an idea?
It'll take at least 2 months to 3 months when we're through appeal.
Okay, so you think you're gonna start this summer?
I can't speak for the
Roughly?
clients.
Is that what the game plan is?
It's gonna depend on the availability of the builder.
I'm sorry, you have to elaborate.
It will depend on the availability of the builder.
Okay.
We have flexibility.
The reason I'm asking some of those questions is, the summer is a precious time in Belmar. And I've had a lot of construction around me in the past couple of years, and I'm just hoping it's not gonna be work being done on weekends or on holidays. Okay, and that is something that's kind of important, okay? The other question is, I've had, excuse me, a lot of contractor trucks in front of my house constantly, and that has not left room for my landscaper, my maid, my people to park the cars, to do the work at my house. Also, been a lot of trash thrown around, a lot of dust, a lot of garbage. Those are my personal concerns with this project. The project sounds nice, I'm just concerned about those things. How is that gonna fly?
Well, I think
Mr. Chairman, this first generally what we have are questions, and I understand these are questions. And I understand that Ms. Fritz is not an attorney nor based, and she has a right to ask questions, but generally the questions are about the application itself. I'm sympathetic to her about the spin-off effects of construction, but with the utmost respect for the board, it's not what's before us. She has the right code enforcement, the police department. We're seeking zoning and variance, really. We appreciate her comments, I'm sure.
But as a neighbor, I think we need to know what's going on, and when it's gonna start, and when it's gonna end.
I'll leave
Okay,
the
that's, I
comments
think that's something.
for the board attorney.
I'm going to turn you over to our board.
Yeah, and you know what, it's a very good point, and just so you know, and it's not unique to this application, if the application is approved, one of the conditions of approval that we're gonna have is they have to comply with all the town's construction process requirements.
Okay.
And even if we don't say that, they have to apply. So
Okay.
April and Ted here are gonna be the experts, but there definitely are rules as to they can't be building at midnight, there's hours of operation, there's days, I don't know what they
Especially
are.
in the summer. This is
Absolutely.
a big time for us.
And there's also, they're not allowed to generate dust, they have to have silt fences, and there's
Okay.
rules and regulations as to where a porta john can be located, and
Exactly.
all those types of things. So those are all going to be, whatever those town regulations are, will absolutely positively, and if they don't, you can call the code enforcement office, or you can call the applicant and say, hey, by the way, did you talk to your contractors about that? So, excellent concerns, and they will be addressed.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Everything okay then?
Yep,
Good.
thank you.
Anyone else got any questions?
My name is Keith Gordon.
Yeah, you have to, our attorney will swear you in.
Oh,
You just
all
step
right,
up
and just
here.
come up here so we can, the mic can pick you up.
Sure.
Keith Gordon, and address?
115.
Okay. Do you swear that the information and testimony you're about to provide, to the extent you provide any, will be the truth, the best of your knowledge, to help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
I have to agree with the architect and the attorney. The house that was built a few years ago is just a gorgeous house. The problem is the backyard is unfinished. Constantly getting questions, what are they gonna do with the backyard, what are they gonna do with the backyard? So I think the plans as presented provide a few things. First of all, they finished the backyard. They're gonna add privacy to at least two of the surrounding homes, including mine. And also, it's gonna add security to the lot itself. So I would ask that the proposal gets approved.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Our attorney will swear you in. Your name and address.
Okay, name and address?
T-H-E-A.
T-H-E-A.
Sheridan, S-H-E-R-I-D-A-N.
Okay.
400 D Street, so I'm the other sort of next door behind.
Okay. So good evening and welcome to the Belmar Zoning Board. Do you swear that the information and testimony you're about to provide, to the extent you provide any, will be the truth, to the best of your knowledge, to help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I live on 400 D Street, so I'm sort of behind them. I do not have a problem with them building a garage. When it was being built, I was puzzled the entire time why no garage was being built, as I watched this beautiful house go up. So yes, it will definitely finish things off. I do have one question though, since I am the next door neighbor. How tall is the fence and what kind of fence?
The fence is allowed up to the front of the garage to be 6 foot tall, and then forward of the garage 4 feet tall. And then we're contemplating a metal fence that's fairly open and landscaping.
Yeah, no, I think honestly, it will make the house, I mean, it's a beautiful house for all of you who've driven by. It's wonderful, it's gorgeous. The neighbors are wonderful as well, and this will definitely finish it off and make it really a jewel of that area.
Thank you for your comments. We'll go to board comments.
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask one quick question, well, two quick questions. Our new member asked about plumbing, and just, Mary, for the record, what about other utilities? Is it gonna be gas, electric, water, sewer?
There will be electric, because there will be lighting there, and that's the only utility planned to
Okay.
go.
And then,
And
Doc,
for the record, as was stated before, there's already an attached to the home outside shower.
okay. And, doctors, just for the record, we normally ask with garages, the garage is not gonna be used as living space, correct? Got it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So whoever asked the plumbing question, that was a great question, because, we don't want to put bathrooms and stuff like that and things. However, I think in the past, we usually allowed like a hose bib. Is that, when we say no plumbing, like, we're not excluding a hose bib, right, from the outside?
Got it.
Okay, just wanted to
Thank you.
make sure, so. Good question, whoever asked it, but I wanted to clarify that.
So we'll move on to board comments now, and we'll start again with.
Yeah, I'm in favor of the application for a small percentage increase. I think it's gonna finish it out. I run by there all the time on my jogging route, and I'm in awe of how you keep it so clean, because I have 3 kids, and my yard would not look the way it looks right now, so it looks good.
You're next.
I'm also in favor. I've driven by it many times. I've watched it go from nothing up to what it is now. It's a beautiful home, and it's gonna even be more.
I agree. percentages. The big, if you used the actual size of the lot and the percentage, there's no variance needed. It's just because of the nuance. So it's all good.
Yeah, I think it looks great, so.
Good job, Mary. I think you'll enjoy it. It's great.
I'll echo the board members, I'm in favor of the project, it looks like a good deal. Certainly security is a good thing, and your security of your lot also helps the security of your neighbor's lots. So I'm in favor of it. And Kevin, you have something for us now?
Sure. So if the application is approved, or is to be approved, some of the conditions that we talked about, or we typically include compliance with all the promises, commitments, and representations the team made tonight, and to our alternates, that's my get-out-of-jail-free card. So if I don't say it now, if they said it during the hearing, it counts. Compliance with the affordable housing rules, regulations, contributions, and directives as the town and/or state and/or court system requires, 24-month time frame, getting all the necessary outside approvals, and we always say, if in the midst of getting outside approvals, the application materially changes, or the variance relief changes, they have to come back. Getting all necessary permits, the garage is not to be used as living space. We have to perpetually maintain the landscaping, particularly because of the testimony presented, unless waived by the borough engineer, grading and drainage details. And I think we said tonight, Bill, I don't know why, but I wrote down a condition, Bill Schreiber gets invited to the pool. So.
Yeah, I'm going to review your resolution for advocacy.
We have the additional landscaping that Mary talked about, and the fence is to be on the applicant's property, and the pool fence per code requirements. And to Chuck's point, you're not going to be grading or draining onto other properties. Gutters all the way around the house, Mary, is what?
Yeah, there's a skirted roof, so we can easily gutter all
Got it.
4 sides.
No plumbing, and as to Mrs. Fritz's excellent question and concern, there's going to be compliance with the borough's construction management requirements. And also,
Mr. Kennedy, we would request, Mr. Ross brought up a good point, I wish I had thought about the hose bib. I would request that your no plumbing to the.
Sure.
Not preclude a hose bib.
Absolutely. We'll definitely put that in. And Mary, the fence complies, there's no fence variance, correct? So
Correct.
compliant fence, and then Bill will specifically clarify that a hose bib is allowed. And I think that was it. Bill, are those?
Yeah, and I didn't ask Mary, but the electric for the garage will be underground electric coming from the house,
Yes.
Thank you, we'll add that.
as in the spirit of Mr. Capolo.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, so Mr. Chairman, if those conditions are acceptable, it's up to the board to make a motion to approve or deny.
So I ask for a motion to approve this application.
Motion to approve?
Second. Thank you.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Gregg?
Yes.
Ms. Hayner?
Yes.
Mr. Lubin?
Yes.
Mr. Leo?
Yes.
Mr. Griselle?
If I
Thank
Thank you.
If I could
Congratulations.
indulge the board to consider next time the mayor and council consider changes, maybe adding some kind of exempt garage to the larger sizes like is in the lower tiers, it may help.
Trying to put me out of business, Mary?
I know, I knew you were gonna say that. April, you want these?
Sure.
She still gets the draw, but I don't get the compliment. Congrats. I'm going right now. Pleasure. All right, so the resolution gets prepared right now. Then we have to publish in 45 days. All right, good. Enjoy the night. See you. All right, bye-bye. Yeah, perfect.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I think that's
Yeah.
Yeah, nice men.
You guys can sit.
Nice to meet you. Okay, Mr. Chairman, the next application, Christopher and Jennifer Farmer. Again, as we start off, is there anyone in the audience who has any questions or comments or concerns about the sufficiency of the notice they received? Okay, I see, no. So, that's code for the board secretary and I reviewed the notice and found everything to be in order. And for the third and final time tonight, we're going to swear in our friend Ted Bianchi, who is our zoning officer and construction official. Ted, do you swear that the information and testimony you're about to provide, to the extent you provide any, will be the truth to the best of your knowledge to help you God? Thank you. And what we will mark into the record, what we as a board have before us. A1 is the application package, and that's dated October 13th, 2023. And then we have A2 is the Borough of Del Mar application checklist. And excuse me, A3 is the minor land use zoning permit denial form, and that's dated August 14th, 2023 / August 15th, 2023, and that's it. And then A4, let's see, A4 is the architectural plans prepared by Grasso Design, and that's dated August 31st, 2023. And I think it was this one sheet, right? Yes. And then A5 is a survey prepared by Charles Sermont, and that's dated November 11th, 2022. A6 is a topographic survey prepared by Charles Sermont, dated November 11th, 2022. A7 is a front yard setback plan prepared by Charles Sermont, dated November 11th, 2022. And A8 is a plot plan prepared by KBA Engineering Services, Joe Kosiuba, and it's dated July 28th, 2023, last revised August 28th, 2023, and that's one sheet. April, I think that's everything, right? Okay. Good evening, Mr. Shipers again.
Good evening, Mr. Kennedy, and good evening, just catching up with my minutes. You moved efficiently through those. Just marking, give me one more sec. All right. Wonderful. So, tonight I have the pleasure of Christopher and Jennifer Farmer, to my right, 1103 D Street. One of my favorite clients to work with, wonderful people, so happy they're in town. My architect tonight is, their architect tonight is Brian Brzezinkas, principal of Grasso Design. Brian designed the property, but Brian worked integrally in the team with Joe Koshuba of KBA. So you have his plot plan, or his plot plan in front of you as A8. Joe was not available due to our commitments to be here this evening, but Brian has agreed and has worked with Joe to assist us through the zoning grid that is within the plot plan of Mr. Koshuba. Brian can also talk about the drainage that he and Mr. Koshuba discussed and how the water is taken off the home. Tonight I'll premise that, this is a beautiful night for me. I get to work with wonderful people on wonderful applications. And this, again, is just a great application. It makes better what is existing out there, reduces variance conditions on the property and setbacks, and is proposing a modest 3-bedroom, 3-bath home, which is just terrific.
of, excuse me, Christopher Parmer and Jennifer Parmer and Brian Brzezinskis. And Brian, save me the trouble and spell your last name, please.
It's B-E-R-Z-I.
I'm sorry, B.
E-R-Z-I-N-S-K-I-S.
All right, and you're testifying tonight in your capacity as a licensed
Architect.
architect. All right, if all three of you could please raise your right arms. Do you swear that the information and testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the best of your knowledge, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right, let the record reflect all three witnesses have been sworn.
All right, which farmer wants to be a little bit of a spokesman or a woman?
Sure.
All right.
Sure,
All right.
Sure.
So introduce yourself. Just give us a little history of your property, what's there, age of it, if you know. I put in the application my approximate age of the property and what your initial intents are and your retention of professionals, and be relatively concise because I think everybody here knows what's going on.
Sure. Christopher Parmer, my wife Jennifer. We've actually been in town since October 2009, so we're approaching 15 years in town. We first bought the house, didn't plan on it being our forever home, but we've actually decided to raise a family here. We have two daughters, 6th grade and 4th grade at St. Rose Grammar School. We actually bought the house prior to having children. House is small, roughly 1,100 square feet. We've pretty much outgrown the house, and that's the reason for pursuing design work through Brian. We were thinking of just an addition, but we had concerns about the foundation. Property is dating back to the 1940s, so we had concern that we could achieve what we wanted to in making this our forever home. So we decided to pursue a knockdown and new build structure. In doing so, the existing shed, we actually had to take some coverage away from there to add to the house. Really important to gain closet space. We have no closets, very small home. So with two daughters, obviously needs some additional storage space in the house. One of the really important things I think that pushes us over the coverage that Brian can allude to a little bit more, it's important for us to have a mudroom entry. We actually access the house in the back, where all the shoes go, all the coats and everything, and we couldn't achieve that inside that 30% coverage. So I'll let Brian take it from there. Thank you.
Terrific. I couldn't have said it better myself. Brian, for the board, Mary got a lot of accolades before. I don't know if she's still here, but you two are both my favorites, so I don't want your pedigree to be unknown to our new board members. So take us through Grasso and Brian.
All right. Hello, my name is Brian Brzezinskis. I am a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey. I am the owner of Grasso Design Group, and our offices are in Manasquan, New Jersey. We do a lot of custom residential homes, and that involves going in front of multiple boards in Monmouth and Ocean County, including this board, which we have been in front of in the past. And we enjoy being able to present another project to you guys.
And Brian, you've probably appeared in Belmar 25 to 50 times or more, just that I've watched, correct?
I would say so, yes.
All right. You're familiar with the zoning codes and ordinances of Belmar, correct?
Yes.
And you've designed not only residential homes, you were probably the foremost, other than the one on 9th Avenue, you're probably the foremost Main Street commercial designer in literally most of those projects that have benefited Main Street where Brian Brzezinskis designs. Is that correct?
I would agree to that. I do enjoy partaking in some of the redevelopment stuff, and we've had the pleasure of being here on multiple occasions for a couple projects up in Main Street.
I offer Mr. Brzezinskis as an expert in the field of architecture. I think we'll accept those qualifications.
Thank you very much.
All right, Brian, I'm going to try to be silent or a mouse on the background and let you take us through not just the house and your design is going to be great, but also take us through the zone chart and tell us what exists now from a zone chart perspective and what is going to be proposed and how you interpret and you feel benefits or detriments, if any. I'm an open guy, and if there's any detriments you perceive, but take us through existing, proposed, zone chart, and then your property.
All right, so as you mentioned before, in absence of Joe Kashuba, the engineer on the project, we do have his plan, and we do have a couple things that are worth pointing out on both the existing property as it stood prior to our project and then the project that we're proposing. So clearly in the existing conditions, there is a house on the property that has a couple of existing nonconformities that are there today. Those go from the property size itself in both the square footage where the particular zone that we're in actually asks for a 7,000 square foot lot, but our particular parcel is only 4,350 square feet. Same thing goes for lot size with regards to the width. The requirement on the width of the property in this area is 50 feet, while this particular parcel is only 45 feet wide. So that starts off with the two existing nonconformities that we really can't do anything about because it's just the size of the property and we're bounded by other properties surrounding us. In addition to that, with the current house that exists on the property, there's several setback and coverage variances, or not variances, but existing nonconformities that are there today. So there's both on the right side of the property, if you're looking at the existing conditions plan on Joe Kashuba's plot plan page, that shows along the northern property line that there are a couple points where the side yard setback is beyond the allowable. It's a required side yard setback of 5 feet, where the current existing project is at 4.7. And then also on the accessory structure, there are setback violations in both the rear property line and that side property line as well. And then on top of all of that, just as an overall site design, the coverage as it is today is exceeding the allowable coverage, which is a 30% allowable building coverage, and it's currently at 33.747%. So those are just current existing conditions as it is now. Once we take away the home, obviously we're proposing a brand new structure. We're looking to rectify a lot of these existing conditions. So as mentioned, there's not much that we could do with the lot size because there's nothing available around us. But otherwise, we revised all of the side yard setbacks as well as the front yard setback with addition of the average front yard along our block in order to bring as much to the property conformance-wise as we possibly can.
Brian, currently there exists, by my math, 7 pre-existing non-conformity variance conditions. Is that correct?
I see the same 7.
And as you and Mr. Kashuba cited this property and designed it to its size particulars, you reduced the 7 variance condition to 3 variances, correct?
Yes.
And 2 of those 3 variances are the lot area and the minimum frontage, which has been pre-existing since probably the 40s. Is that correct?
That's correct.
From your understanding, so I don't pass this by, from your understanding of zoning and zone codes, this is would you agree this is a typical C1 hardship variance where based upon either the peculiar shape or the undersized volume, width, size, or depth is challenging, which makes compliance difficult of a compliant structure, as well as potentially a C2 variance, a better zoning alternative grounded in aesthetics and general welfare.
Yes, and with that being said, I did gloss over, but I wanted to point out that when you're looking at the property, whether it be on the survey or on Joe's plot plan, you'll notice it's not actually a rectangular lot. There's a small portion that's carved out of the corner. So that brought in another little nuance of uniqueness to it aside from some of the other conditions.
All right, continue, please.
So as we were talking earlier in the design of this project, we did do a house design that basically tried to conform to as many as the potential zoning ordinances allowed, and the design of the house on the architectural plan as shown has a first floor living space as well as a second floor bedroom space. As mentioned earlier, we have 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, and a small walk-up attic space. Everything with respect to the majority of the house with regards to the setbacks, as well as the overall building height, as well as the half-story calculation. Everything was designed to be in full compliance. Now, with all of that being said, there was the concept of this mudroom that we had a discussion about and how to exactly acquire something like it, and whether or not that would possibly put us over the allowable coverage for this particular piece. And this is what it is. It's this one small corner that we've added right off of the dinette space that has a doorway to the back and to the driveway area that is only a single-story element. We didn't even bother carrying it up to the second or third floor. We just kept it as a single-story element to reduce really the visual aspect of it from any of the adjacent properties, anybody who's coming from the street. So with respect to that, when we're asking for the coverage variance, which I should also point out that I did have a discussion with the engineer earlier today, and I believe he does have another plan that may or may not have been submitted, but when we were going over the numbers for the coverage, I noticed the length of the footprint was a little bit longer on his drawing than it was on the actual architectural plan. So in fact, if anything, you know, we're still, out of the abundance of caution, looking for the 32.25%, but I actually believe, I discussed with him that it's probably lower than that. Because I'm not gonna change my design of the house, we're just gonna reduce the footprint on his plan.
So by reduction of that footprint, I think, as when you alerted it, of that earlier in the day, your calculations brought it under 31%.
Yes.
It is not for building coverage.
Yeah, and unfortunately, not knowing that it was, I have a copy of the engineer's, like a small copy of it, and he did have the calculation underneath 31%.
Which effectively equates to the mudroom difference of size that you just discussed, correct?
Yeah, so I mean, basically, the amount that we're over on the building coverage is 29 square feet, and that mudroom that we have in that corner is 48 square feet. So if there was no mudroom, I don't even know that it would be there, but obviously for them, in the design and the layout of the house, it became an integral part of what we were trying to accomplish for the space, for the storage, and for their kids.
Yeah, I probably likely, but that might be the right vast of knowledge there, but rebuilding a house head on a non-conforming lot would still be back there. Right? Yeah. That's sworn in Ted Bianchi saying yes. For the record. From your perspective as an architect, do you feel that the slight increase in building coverage is effectively a de minimis ask of this board regarding that C variance?
Yes, and I would also, again, like to point out that the existing building coverage on the lot today is at 33.47%, so we're reducing the coverage from what's there now.
Okay, so I want to do, and I don't want to be professorial, but I have nothing better to do tonight likely. So in the spirit of our new board members, and that the Palmers paid for it and Mr. Kashuba incorporated it, Brian, talk about, if you would, the relevance of the front yard setback, A7. I'm going to hand you mine, if you have one. And you understand, just describe to the board members why you and Mr. Kashuba did the average front yard setback plan and how that plays in to the front yard setback. If some of the board members say, how come it says 20-foot required, but I only see existing 12.8 with an asterisk, but then 10-foot with 9-foot average setback on the plan? Please explain that for the board members, why we are not seeking a variance for an average front yard setback and how that works.
Yeah, of course. So, you know, Belmar not unique in this particular aspect, but many municipalities have a basic zoning chart that talks about front yard setbacks, side yard setbacks, rear yard setbacks. But with all things considered, when you're looking at the streetscape of a neighborhood, obviously there are times when some of the existing homes that are there today, which were either built at a different time with different zoning, or the time where they weren't as concerned about it, are not necessarily conforming. So in spirit of trying to keep a uniformity to a neighborhood and a similar streetscape, an average front yard setback ordinance is not uncommon. And what it does is it basically takes the surveying of the adjacent properties on the block or within a certain distance on the block, and then uses that as a calculation to then design what the potential average required front yard setback would be on a new build or in addition to an existing home. And that's primarily in there, like I said, so that at the end of the day, once the existing house that is there today is removed and a new house is proposed, that it's hopefully similar in line to the adjacent other properties, and you don't uniquely have one individual home set farther back than everything else that's on the rest of the street.
Terrific. So let's get to your architectural plan. Tell us as much as you'd like to tell about it. I think there were some good questions from the last application that you were here about where's water, how's it coming into the property, is it going to flow onto any adjacent properties, how did you design that with the engineer and in your architectural plans. Give a little bit of detail about perhaps siding, roofing material, and there is no garage here. There is compliant parking, correct? It's a 3-bedroom, which requires 2 parking spaces. We have more than that behind the front yard setback in the driveway, correct?
Yeah, so illustrated again on the engineer's drawing, you see to the left of the home, as looking at it from the street, there is a lengthy driveway that goes almost all the way to the point where the actual property jogs, as well as you'll notice a proposed shed in the corner there for exterior storage as well. And that's something that is included in the coverage calculations for that building coverage. It is not only the building itself, the front porch, but also that shed.
And while I am not the architect you are, but I believe basic calculations show this house to be a low 2,000 square foot home. Just take the board through the sizing of first, second, and half story, just so that they understand the, I never like the word to use terms as modest or quaint or humble or not overbuilt or what have you. Whatever terms you like to describe this this home on a valuable lot in Belmar.
Yeah, and so, you know, when we come up with any design, when we're trying to lay something down, and it starts usually with the base footprint of what we're putting together, this first floor footprint, which is the main living space, is 1,120 square feet. In the design of that, like I mentioned, you have the area that's the mudroom, that's part of the reason why we're here, but also a small covered front porch area, which is inclusive of that whole building coverage calculation to begin with. And then as you go up to the second floor, like I mentioned earlier, we didn't want to extend the mass of what we were creating with this mudroom, so we scaled it back a little bit. That brings the square footage of that second floor level down to 1,067. And then ultimately, anytime you have this walk-up attic type condition, there's a specific calculation in the ordinance that talks about how big that space could be, because you're not allowed to have this, you know, same size third floor. It's considered a walk-up attic, it's a half story. So with that being said, everything that we've done in the design of the roof line and the structure of what we've created with the roof rafters gives an allowable walk-up space, but is limited in size to conform to the ordinances for that allowable half-story area.
And Brian, just if I have it, what is that half-story square footage?
375.
375, thank you.
And Brian, are you familiar with how utilities will service the property?
I didn't thoroughly review the engineering drawing with respect to the utilities, but my guess is they will most likely be located on the ground, because that seems to be common.
Would you represent to the board that if possible, the applicant would bring the power in underground if he, I think Kevin has better language than I that he uses. The applicant will make his best attempt.
Yeah, good faith efforts,
Good-
what we typically do, good faith efforts to put the utilities underground if the utility company allows and if it's reasonable, and we just usually ask that you report back within, 6 months or so of, what the result of that. That's typically what we do. We can discuss that later.
Mr. Shepard, I hate to interrupt you right now.
Sure.
Ted would like to ask something.
Yeah, my question.
So the front yard setback,
Yeah.
was that taken from the structure of the adjacent properties or from the porch?
So I could see on the survey that did the front yard setback plan, there's dimensions for both. But in the calculations that's on the engineering drawing, it appears like lot 23, which is north of the lot, is listed as 4.9 feet, which is the dimension to an enclosed porch. So I don't know if nobody has that. Is that like?
It's a closed porch, it's living space.
Right, so it's not an open porch. So that's where the 4.9 dimension comes in on lot 23. And then on lot 21, which is south of the lot, there's two dimensions on the survey, one of 3.5 to the covered porch and 13.1 to the actual dwelling. And the calculation on the engineer's drawing is based off the 13.1 foot dimension on lot 21. So to the left property, it would be to the dwelling, to the right property, it's to the enclosed porch.
The reason I ask is the street line.
Yeah.
This house has no porch, like it's all covered,
Right.
so it blocks the street line down, that's what I asked.
Yeah.
How about the roof pitch? What are we talking about there?
The roof pitch on the main house,
Proposed or existing?
proposed, it's a 10 on 12 pitch.
How about the calculations for the attic?
Yeah, so we do have calculations for the attic. Like I said, there's a specific requirement in the ordinance that talks about the square footage of the attic, and that's in a comparison to the square footage of the second floor. So we run a quick calculation where we have the second floor area, which is the 1,067 square feet. And then the measurement for the township ordinance is based upon the square footage of any area that is less than 5 feet in height. And that requirement is that it has to be a minimum of 40%. So right now, based upon the living space or the finishable space of the walk-up attic, the remaining square footage that we have is at 446 square feet, and that gives us over 64% under 5 feet. So we're conform.
Yes. You give us a little bit about materials. I don't know if you gave us any materials that you are potentially recommending to your clients.
Yeah, I mean, I think that overall, most people who come to me and talked about doing a design are looking for something that's fitting within the neighborhood, and that's typically what we're representing in this drawing. It's a mixture of different materials that include, obviously, sidings that are of a shape nature, as well as potential areas where some stonework could be used, as well as some regular asphalt shingles and some stainless steel metal, and also some vertical, like board and batten type features. Now, not nothing is finalized, but ultimately this is typical of what we're doing in the area, typical of what most people are looking for to match into the neighborhood.
I'm going to jump into the legalese part that you may have witnessed previously. You're familiar with Belmar's zoning codes and Belmar's master plan from probably 20 years or more testifying in Belmar, correct?
Yes.
Do you find that there is a detriment to the master plan if the board was to be so kind as to consider approving this plan?
No, I think that we've tried pretty hard here to make it visually and aesthetically from the exterior truly appear like it's a fitting project for the neighborhood and will be built on a regular lot up and down the street.
And from a zoning perspective, you're familiar with the municipal land use law that discusses that a project should not be a substantial detriment to the public good.
Right.
I'm assuming your opinion is it is not a substantial detriment to the public good.
No, and in fact, I think that, when you look at the existing conditions of the property, we're actually trying to improve some of the existing problems that are there today.
And you understand that new projects that are aesthetically pleasing often will foster and further the general welfare of a community. Do you agree?
Of course, that's what we strive for.
And new structures will often be resilient to fire, water, safety, security, all of which are promoted in the municipal land use law as encouraging the general welfare of the community. Is that correct?
Yes.
I don't have any other questions.
That finishes your presentation then. That's your presentation.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm going to start with you again, Chuck.
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
I don't blame you. And yourself?
The only question I have is, you mentioned drainage. Where are the gutters going to, and are you pitched away from your neighbors?
Yeah, of course. So, I'll speak to the engineer. The engineer is the one who designed the grading and drainage plan that we have in front of us. And ultimately, on every project, this not only gets presented to you guys, but also gets reviewed by the township in order to make sure that it's fully compliant. So nothing that we're going to be designing in this grading and drainage plan is going to spill over into any of the neighboring properties. It'll all be managed on site.
Okay, so the leaders are gonna, gutters and the leaders, everything's coming down into the ground out somewhere, pop up or whatever?
Yeah, I didn't see any specific details with relationship to dry wells. I do know that a soil boring was done in the area and there was a pretty decently high water table. So I'm not sure what exactly the design is or to accomplish managing the water, but it won't spill over onto neighboring properties.
That's the main concern.
Just a clarification, there's no basement involved here. Is a crawl space under that, or?
Yeah, crawl space. Again, there was a boring done early on in the project and it was a high water table.
Okay. Not, more comment than anything, owning a house with no garage, you are not putting a garage on or near a brand new house and you're just doing shed. Is any reason, or? Because that's the one thing I miss on my house the most. If you're building a brand
To
new.
get the closet space in the house, so.
Yeah, it was really taken away from the existing structure that was there to add to the
Okay.
inside.
Yeah, and it would be awkward over there on that side of the driveway with that little cut there, so just a comment than anything.
No questions.
I had a question more for education purposes. For the underground utilities, when you say it's most likely economically feasible, what does that mean? Because for money, you get anything.
No, and that's an excellent question. So we, as a board, have historically preferred and encouraged underground utilities, but I don't think there's an ordinance requirement, correct?
Correct.
Now, sometimes we have our year-end study and we say, hey, should you do that? So in the past, what we've done is we've just said good faith efforts and best efforts and, if the utility company allows it. And in the past, we've said, and I don't want to misspeak, but we've sort of said if it was, you know, sort of within, you know, economic reasons, that, you know, if it was practical. I mean, that's what we've done in the past.
Okay, so, I guess my question is, what does that mean? Because I did this, I understand what it costs, and it didn't, well, for me, it didn't cost much, for somebody else it may cost much, I
Right.
don't know. But certainly, it can be done.
Yeah.
We're just not allowed to make it a requirement?
Well, I mean, in conjunction with the variance, we sort of can, and that's, we just, in the past, and it hasn't been really officially, you know, sanctioned or anything, but we've sort of, that's what we've used in the past. It doesn't mean we have to, you know, we can start changing it
I guess
out.
my question to the applicant would be, is it your intention to put underground utilities?
Yeah, it's our intention, for sure. We didn't discuss any other options besides that.
Yes, or we'll,
And then the other question I had is the porch. It's like a half porch, right? It's not
Yes.
going across the whole house? Is there a
Correct.
reason we're not going across the whole house?
Porch again counts as part of coverage, so in effort to.
I'm just
give
saying
living space.
aesthetically, and
Yeah.
a full porch is just so
Of
much
course.
prettier.
Understood.
Got it. I walk past your house every day. I admire that you're willing to do this. It's great.
Just to comment on the underground, because I'm all for it and started to ask mayor and council for that. But there must be some instances where it's coming off the street on this side or this side where the JCP&L is gonna charge you to dig and put it, or your electrician or plumber is gonna have to dig that too. So there are probably some instances where it is prohibited to do that, and that's why we haven't enforced it in total, to my knowledge.
Got it. Thanks.
Well said. The only question I have for the architect, I'm looking at the elevations of the rear of the house,
Yes.
and it shows that porch off the half story. It seems to go through the door and through the roof, and it's probably, it has nothing to do with our approval, but I'm just curious about it. My plan shows, I don't understand how the porch fits in there behind
So-
that roof.
When you talk about having any type of a porch or balcony on this attic level, ultimately, there's different ways that it could be approached. In this particular aesthetic, what you're seeing is that the actual balcony portion is nestled into the roof design of the house. So when you're looking at it from, like, let's say the side view, you're not seeing the railing of the porch because the porch is actually tucked behind. The door is just illustrating that it's actually behind that gable, and the railing next to it is all tucked in.
Okay, I understand. As soon as you said that, it's clear, and it has nothing to do with my
Of course.
accepting it or not. Kevin, we should now go to the public questions,
Yeah, so.
which surely will be few.
Correct. And the reason, just, you know, we do this, everything is being taped. If there's ever litigation, you don't bring the whole show to the court. The judge just relies on what is on the tape. So even if there's no one in the audience, with respect, you know, we always want to say for the record so that the judge knows, hey, we asked.
Now, do you want to go through anything with first or?
Sure, can I just ask a couple just for purposes of the resolution, and this is either for the applicants or Bill or Brian here, just in terms of, right now, the existing home is how many stories?
Current home.
2 stories.
2 stories, it's gonna be 2.5. And right now, the existing home has how many bedrooms? 3 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms are proposed, correct?
Correct.
And right now, existing bathrooms in the existing house, how many? 1.5, and proposed? 3. And right now, the height,
Less than 35.
less than 35, and the proposed height, same?
Same.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and now we'll go to board comments. Chuck? Sure.
Yeah, I think it's great looking house. I applaud you for not being greedy. I mean, this is a great ask, another minimal request to improve the property, and I wish you the best on your favorite application.
Thank you.
exactly the same.
He's the negative one. I'd rather see a front porch, but it's not gonna stand in the way of approving it.
I'm with him on the comments as well. I think that B Street will greatly be improved with your help.
Yeah, front porches are really great, but I understand trying to comply with our regulations, you didn't go for the full front porch, but they are really great. But that aside, it looks like it's gonna fit the neighborhood quite well, and you didn't over-ask. You asked for needs, not wants. I applaud that too, and I'm in favor of the application. So with that, we're set to ask for a motion.
Sure, and then like the standard conditions would include, if I may, compliance with promises, commitments, and representations, getting any necessary demolition permits, compliance with all affordable housing rules, regulations, contributions, and directives. As is always the case, grading and drainage details have to be reviewed and approved by the borough engineer to make sure that there's no adverse runoff. 24-month time frame, outside approvals, getting all necessary permits, fence for the pool, and perpetually maintaining, replace the landscaping, and some of the things we talked about tonight would be, I guess, Brian, what we're saying is, and I guess this gets a little, what you said, the building coverage is gonna be 32.25%, but you think it might actually be down to 31%. So I think, Bill, what sometimes the board wants to do is we'll say maximum 32.25, but if your proposal really is 31, then your variance goes down to that, and you're not allowed to have that extra 1.5%, which I'm sure that's okay, correct?
We agree, and I think Mr. Kashuba would be in agreement to provide an amended calculation to reflect him and Mr. Brzezinski's agreement on that number not to exceed 32.5.
And it's just the smallest number, so
Yes.
that's,
Yeah.
and then we.
The lesser of.
The lesser of. Again, even though Ms. Fritz left, the obviously compliant with construction maintenance requirements for the borough, comply with the borough's half-story ordinance, building and construction code compliance, pitch away from the neighbors. I think that was it, Mr. Chairman. Bill, are those conditions acceptable to you?
Yes, they are.
Thank you. All on the board for a motion to approve. Thank you.
Second.
We'll have two new members.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. Hager?
Yes.
Mr. Rubin?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Rizal?
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck with you. Call for a motion to adjourn.